Hello, fellow book readers. My name is John, and today I'm going to go over my least favorite reads from quarter one. That's right, my least favorite 5 books that I read in quarter one. I'm just going to talk about them a little bit. There will be some spoilers in here, so do keep that in mind. But let's get started with my 5th least favorite read of quarter one, and that would be Ghost Story by Jim Butcher. This is the 13th book in the Dresden Files series. And this book for me fell really flat, mostly because it's way too long. It's about 160,000 words, and most Dresden Files books are between 100,000 and 130,000 words. So for some reason, this one is like 30,000 extra words, and it really didn't need to be because this whole book is about Harry Dresden being dead. So he dies at the very end of Changes, but you know he's going to come back because there's like way more books in the series. So obviously he can't stay dead. So this book is very anticlimactic. You're just waiting for Harry Dresden to figure out how to come back to life. He's a ghost the entire book, so he can't really do magic. He can't really fight. He can't really interact with anybody in the physical world. The book does do a bunch of world building in like the spiritual world, but it didn't need to because that world doesn't ever come back into play in the series. And it felt that way while he was doing it. It's like, why are we doing all this world building for no reason? I thought the case itself was a big mad burger. Like it wasn't like one of the more memorable cases in the series. And the new characters that it introduced did absolutely nothing for me. So for me, this book just really fell flat in everything it was trying to accomplish. There were some okay stories with the side characters and how they reacted to Harry's death. I thought that stuff was interesting, particularly how Molly reacted to it. But other than that, nothing in this book worked for me. I gave this book 2.5 stars. I just really did not like my time here. Okay, and then moving on to my 4th least favorite read of the year so far, that would be Edgedancer by Brandon Sanderson. This is one of the novellas in the Cosmere. It takes place in between Words of Radiance and Oathbringer in the Stormlight Archive, and it centers around one of the main characters called Lift, who is this child. I forget how old she is. She's either like 10 or 9 or 8 or 11 years old, and she's just very annoying. Like she's my least favorite Brandon Sanderson character, and the entire book is in her point of view. So unfortunately for me, it just didn't work. And that's not to say that Brandon Sanderson can't write children characters, because he can, particularly in Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians. Those characters are awesome. But for some reason, Lift, I just find to be very, very annoying. Brandon tries to write her as this humorous character, and to me, she's just not funny. None of the jokes land. Whenever she's on the page, I find myself wanting to skip ahead. So yeah, being in her head the entire time was not fun, and that's a shame because there are some interesting stuff in this book, particularly the stuff with the Sleepless and the stuff with Nail in the climax. I thought were very interesting, but I just couldn't get over being stuck in Lift's head for 200 pages. It just didn't work for me. So yeah, this one got 2 stars from me. It's okay, but I really did not enjoy any aspect of this book. Okay, then at 3, my third least favorite book of the year would be Death Masks by Jim Butcher. This is the 5th book in the Dresden Files universe or series. And for me, this one just didn't work because I did not enjoy the content in this book. And I'll talk about that right now. So I think the Dresden Files has something for everybody, which is why it's such a good series. Like, you may really like the vampire books. You may really like the Fae books. I personally love the Fae books, and I really enjoy the vampire books. You may like some of the other stuff he does, like the werewolves or the sort of mob or mafia that's going on in the background in some of the stories, or some of the other fables he brings in later, like the Nemesis and the Outsiders. So he picks stuff from a bunch of different mythology. There's some Norse mythology stuff in here. There's some Greek mythology stuff. He's picking from all these different myths and fables, and he's centering books around them. But one of the things that he picks from is fallen angels. And I just find the fallen angel books to be my least favorite. And that's not going to be for everybody. Some people really love the fallen angels. But for me, they're my least favorite sort of myth or fable or story he brings into the Dresden Files. And this book focuses on Nicodemus and the fallen angels. They are the antagonists. And for me, that just didn't work because I did not care about that at all. Like, I did not care about the mythology around it. I did not care about their story. I thought Nicodemus as a character was just not a good antagonist, not interesting to read. His story dragged for me. So yeah, there was a lot here that didn't work. There are 3 Fallen Angel books. I think the other 2 are a lot better. They're not still not my favorite books in the series, but they're a lot better than Death Nest, which is the 5th book. This book was my least favorite book in the series. I gave it 2 stars. There really wasn't much to redeem about it. As a matter of fact, this was the point where I considered not continuing the Dresden Files. And luckily for me, book 6 really bounced back the series in the direction that I liked. So I did continue, but yeah, this book was a struggle for me to get through, even though it's very short. Luckily, Susan and Michael, who are 2 side characters, were in this book, and they helped keep me reading this book, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about this book. It was not a positive experience for me, which is a shame. Okay, then my second least favorite book of the year. You guys are really going to hate this one. Uh, this is an unpopular opinion, but my second least favorite book of the year is, so far in quarter one, was The Heroes by Joe Abercrombie, which is the second book, which is the second standalone in the First Law universe. All 3 standalones take place after the original trilogy, though. And this is a lot of people's favorite standalone. It's some people's favorite just First Law book in general. I really didn't enjoy this book because it does stuff that I personally, as a reader, don't find to be very interesting, which is the book is just one battle. It's just 400 pages of action. Like, basically, the book centers around this one battle in the North between the Union and the Northmen, and that's the entirety of the book. I'm not joking. The battle is the entirety of the book. Now, there are some character moments in between the fighting, but it's one battle from beginning to end. The battle ends when the book ends. And I personally, I'm just not somebody who really loves reading really long action pieces in general. I like character work. And now Joe does do some action where he involves character work in it, which is awesome. But for me, in the First Law universe, I find the North to be the least interesting setting with the least interesting characters. So even though there was some character work while they were fighting, it mostly involved the Northmen and the North setting. And I just don't find that setting to be very engaging, or those characters. And I think it's mostly because the characters in the North are basically all warriors. And I just don't think they're very interesting. They're not very complex characters. And I find them to be the least diverse personality wise. And for me, that one trait personality just doesn't work because I don't enjoy that trait that much. So, when it's only 1 or 2 characters in a book like this, that's fine. But like I said, the entire book takes place in the North, so almost every character is like this. And I just struggled with this book. I gave it 2 stars, mostly because of Calder's plot. I thought Calder's plot was I thought Calder's plot was very, very interesting. Uh, he really kept me from giving this book a 1-star rating. There was some of Renfrey's plot that I also thought was interesting, but only some of it, not the entire thing. Whereas Calder, I thought the entire plot he had was very interesting. But there's like 7 or 8 point of view characters, and Calder's only one of them. So it just didn't work for me, unfortunately. Okay, and now we're going to talk about my least favorite book of the year. Drumroll, please. And that would be The Gunslinger by Stephen King. It is the only book I gave 1 star to this year. It is the only book I actively hated the entire way through. It almost put me in a reading slump while I was reading it. It's very short, but it feels very long. And this book honestly feels like one giant acid trip. I don't know what kind of drugs Stephen King was on when he was writing this. Probably acid, but yeah, it was not. It was weird. Like, the stuff that happens in this book doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The stuff in the present day in the desert where Roland is chasing the gunslinger just didn't make a lot of sense to me. It felt like a fever dream. Things weren't overly explained, but they certainly weren't like underexplained either. Like, he did try to explain some stuff, and it was just like, I don't get what you're trying to explain right now. This doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And then about like 60 to 70% of the book is a flashback learning how Roland became a gunslinger. And that stuff was actually okay. It still wasn't good. It was the best part of the book, though. But like, it wasn't good. It was just fine. And yeah, it didn't work for me at all. Which is a shame because The Dark Tower at the series was a priority read for me this year. And after reading The Gunslinger, the first book in the series, I really don't want to continue it. I don't even know if I'm going to continue it. does the series get better? Let me know down below if it does, because I really, really do want to read the series, and I love Stephen King, the writer. Some of my favorite books I read last year were written by Stephen King, but The Gunslinger wasn't it, and I don't know if I really want to continue the series after it. Like I said, this book felt very disjointed and kind of like a fever dream. And those are my 5 least favorite reads of the year so far. Keep in mind, I did read 58 books in quarter one or something like that. So, like, overall, I enjoyed most of what I read a lot. But there were just a few misses, and I decided I was going to share them with you. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books. If you disagree, please let me know, because I wanted to like these books a lot. So I want to hear why I should have liked them more than I did. I'm open to that. And as always, thanks for watching.